So growing up with Asian immigrant parents that don't speak English, I was the first one in my family to actually speak proper English. A lot of my life, I always felt like I was fighting something. Why did I have to work so damn hard just to get to most people's starting line? And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, is it white privilege?
Black people that are very rich and very famous, and there's white people that are very poor. It doesn't necessarily mean that white privilege doesn't exist.
Let's define what white privilege is.
Or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group.
White privilege is defined as having an unfair advantage, whether that is career, education, or any sort of barrier to entry to your own, let's say, jobs, money, food, shelter, solely based on the fact that you are not white, aka your whiteness is an advantage. Some people might say white privilege doesn't exist.
I do not believe that white privilege, which is based upon the color of your skin, exists.
So let's look at this unfair advantage. If I was white, I would less likely to be
African-American men in this country who haven't had the experience of being followed when they were shopping in a department store. That includes me.
Me growing up in Vancouver, where it is predominantly 50% white and 50% minorities, being Asian. We're becoming the majority here as well, but that's another story. Being black, let's say on the bus, on public transport, you might get stared at a little. That itself is not necessarily white privilege. That is racism. That is bigotry. That is prejudice. Especially if you're in North America or let's say the UK, Australia, there's actually laws within the criminal code for racism, race-motivated crimes. Where if you go to other parts of the world, let's say i.e. Asia, it's actually a lot more racist. And white privilege is right in your face in Asia. Let me give you an example.
メンバーオンリー。
あ、そうですか。先ほど電話しましたが、
日本語のメニューしかないですけど、いいですか？
全然日本語喋るんですけど、
大丈夫です。
その会員制って言われたら、
まあまあ、どうぞどうぞ。
Where, let's say in any restaurant in North America, that is very unlikely. And if it is, you can probably film a TikTok and it will go viral. Let me give you another example. If I was white and I had no credentials whatsoever, and I dropped off my resume, here's a picture of me smiling, I'm gonna get preference just based on my whiteness to become, let's say, an English teacher. In comparison to someone that is black or a minority or even Asian that is a native speaker in Canada or the US with a master's in English and teaching, someone who is white with no credentials whatsoever can still get picked over this person who does have credentials.
You have white privilege if you can say, I am accurately represented in almost every movie.
But if we're focusing strictly on America and Canada, white privilege? Let's go deeper. Walk into a tech company, 2,000-3,000 employees. Annual reoccurring revenue is anywhere of north of $500 to $1 billion. You go into their C-level executive suite level. Wow, everyone is a middle-aged white man. There are no minorities. Wait, hey, there's one. He's in finance. Go figure. So I used to work for an influencer, and this influencer came from a very privileged background. Their dad was a co-owner of one of the biggest companies in Vancouver. Their mom was a regional manager of a so-called other big company. So this person came from a lot of money, like a lot. And me, working behind the scenes, heard her tell me a story and where she posted a video about, oh my God, I had to work downtown. I had to struggle so hard. And my daddy had to pay for my 1-bedroom shoebox apartment in the downtown city core for the condo. It was so small, but it was a lot of struggle back then for me. And this influencer is being like, oh my God, my life was so hard. oh my God, boohoo. And what this is not necessarily white privilege, even though this influencer was white. It is economic privilege, which is very 100% real.
Economic privilege, I would tell you yes. If you ask me whether or not I think that somebody born into a family of billionaires be afforded more privileges in life than somebody that is born in the projects of Chicago.
Every day, every little thing you do, it's such a gimme, gimme, gimme. Everybody back off.
Not just based on skin, because there is anomalies where you have Asian brothers and sisters like me that are the 1% that are super wealthy. They don't go through things that, let's say, someone from poverty goes through. So if I have 2 resumes, there's no context whatsoever. One is Bob Smith, the other is Y. That person that is Y is a minority. Exact same credentials to the same employer, to the same, let's say, there is no affiliation with any nepotism. There is no, I referred you. These are 2 candidates into the job market. You are likely to pick the overqualified person versus just, wait, is this person white? Let's hire the white person.
Like, oh yeah, I'd rather be me, the white person, than her? How many people in your graduating class would say that?
When someone asks me a dream, what's your dream? My dream is to retire my parents. My dream is to make sure my parents don't work anymore. But white people never got that. They're like, oh, okay. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, wait, you didn't have to see your parents struggle. You didn't have to see the hardships of violence, the things that they would do because we didn't have money. And that is why, as a kid, you love your parents, you want to take care of them, because I didn't come from money.
Though I'm cheated because instead of me fulfilling my prophecy, I have to start one.
So there are 3 things when it comes to having privileges, and what are the factors that make you deem a successful person and what hinders you from not being successful. 1 is poverty. Whether you're black, you're white, you're Asian, you grew up in the projects, in the hood, in government housing, charity, the odds are stacking against you if you grew up in poverty because you have less access to resources like education, which is factor number 2. Are you educated? Do you have a college degree? And 3 is a stable household. Having a loving and supporting parental figures in your life, not a single parent figure, a 2-person household. You put those 3 together, those are privileges that will either, if you don't have them, will stack against your odds when it comes to career, money, relationships, or it can be in your favor.
Yeah, so I feel like you're less privileged than me because, well, like I don't have money, but my parents have money and it's nice. So I don't have to worry about certain things that you have to.
Me growing up as a 1st-generation Vietnamese Canadian, I get to see it from both sides. Working for privileged people and seeing how much of a difference their life is in comparison to my own life. And seeing how that in itself, on that very level, can exist. And it's not just white people. Privilege, having a childhood, having access and resources, and not having to be a self-starter. I'm like, yes, boo-hoo, Peter. Those are the cards that you're given, and you need to work with them. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I understand. I'm not victim blaming, but I'm able to see the game for what it is. A lot of my life, I was always like, why is it so hard? Why do I have to work 3, 4, 5 times? Why do I have to build generational wealth? And then the more I think about this, I'm like, oh, it's privilege. Grew up exactly in your shoes and they made it. Yeah, you see them. They are the 1, 2, 3. Those are the anomalies. Not every single person who is not white and comes from poverty, does not have education, and grew up in a single parent household is successful. Has so much odds against them that you will never see them because they are struggling. There are anomalies on every single one of the factors that I talked about, but this is such a long conversation because I'm looking at it from this lens, but you can see someone else on the other side of the world being like, why? You are Asian, but you are first generation. I'm envious of you. You have access to the internet. You have access to running water and food. You get to post videos on YouTube where I'm over here having to sell lottery tickets because my mom is in a wheelchair. Although that is a hyperbole, that exists somewhere in the world. It is not make-believe. I'm grateful for the cards that I dealt because it made me exactly who I am. I'm rambling on too much. What do y'all think? White privilege, sensitive topic. What are your 2 cents? Agree or disagree? My name's Peter. You're watching Broke the Habits, where habits are meant to be broken.